We've got a fun one for you today. We have Christy, who has an off-grid homestead that is absolutely stunningly beautiful. Come and watch. Hey, Provident Preppers, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Colleen, and today we have with us Kristi, who is a woman who has done amazing things. She has developed this homestead over the last 20 years or so that isn't just functional, but it's absolutely beautiful. And she's agreed to come on today and share with us some of the great tips that she has learned that just might help you as you are trying to become more self-sufficient. So, Kristi, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to our audience and tell us about a bit about this gorgeous homestead that you have in the California Redwood Forest?
Hi, my name is Kristi, and we purchased some property from my father, which was originally my great grandfather's. We've been working on it for about 22, 23 years. We built our own cabin there. We had a little help from some friends who would come and direct us because we didn't have any construction experience. We certainly have now, as we've had to learn to do our own things and come up with our own plans. And it's been a really great journey. We've really enjoyed it. We love it. So we built our cabin, and then we fixed up my grandfather's cabin. And we've just built a lot of little outbuildings and created some beautiful spaces for like tea parties and just kind of hanging out with our friends and family. And it's just become just like a little spot of paradise for us.
That is so cool.
One of the things that I was really impressed with, and I'm sure it's not completely unique, but it's somewhat unique, and you are off-grid. You don't have access to utilities, and so that makes it a little bit interesting and fun.
Actually, we love it. I mean, we wouldn't have it any different. We've heard, you can get Starlink, and there's other options. You could have solar, which we do have a solar generator, and we do use that. But we started out with just nothing but oil lamps. That was our lighting as we were building. And even a few years after, there wasn't an option for electricity. It's just too far out. There's not an option. There's no internet. There's very little phone service, and we have an antenna to help us out with that. So if we want internet, we have to drive way up to the top of the mountain, or we have to go into town.
Okay, and in our world, that seems really crazy, right?
But we love it because, so just to be clear, we are only part-time off-gridders. We live Monday through Friday morning in town, in the middle of town. And every Friday, we take a ride out. It's a 3-hour trip. We drive all the way out to the middle of nowhere, and we work really hard, and then we drive all the way back home every Sunday.
That's amazing. That's
Yep.
fun.
And we're so sore on Monday, we can't even hardly move.
we understand that. But the ability just to disconnect, to me, would be awesome.
It has its, I would say, mostly good points, but it also has, difficulties. Sometimes you want to get a hold of someone, and it's hard to, it's more difficult to do that. You have to go, like I said, drive up the hill if the service isn't good enough with the antenna. And, we just do the best that we can, but we actually we wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, we love it so much. It is the absolute ultimate dream.
So, and one of the things that I love about what you've done is you have it's got all this rustic charm. I mean, everything you've built, it's not just functional, it's beautiful. Like it's out of some kind of a storybook.
Yeah, I was kind of striving for that because, like my son, he's the hunter man. He likes to fish, he likes to hunt. He's always been that way. And he would always give me a bad time about, having it too frou-frou out there. And I said, look, son, anyone can have a camo dead animal head place. Anyone can do that. I want to have something special. I want to prove a point that just because you have a cabin and it's in the middle of nowhere doesn't mean it can't be really, really special.
Because it is. It's beautiful. And where you're at, I noticed you guys have a beautiful little waterfall and a stream, so you've got a good water supply.
Oh, it's great. So our water supply is up on the mountain, and it's gravity fed because it's pretty steep up. So we have just a fresh spring water system, and it collects at the tank, and then that's just trickles down the mountain. We have like a lot of pressure, an amazing amount of pressure. There's times like in the wintertime, we always have trouble with trees falling on the pipes. It's just, we get really lucky if there's actually a year where we don't have a catastrophe with the water. It's just part of it. And it's like my husband says, it's a pain to go have to fix it, but you get up there and it is the most beautiful, beautiful place that you can't even get upset about it. You just feel so fortunate to have it and to be able to experience how beautiful it is.
That is so awesome. And you guys don't have to worry about your pipes freezing, right? You're not going to get that cold.
Oh no, we get cold. We get snow. We get ice. Oh yeah, it gets cold.
Ah,
Now we don't get a lot of snow, and we don't get, I mean, there's years where it gets down in the like maybe low 20s, which is
That's-
cold enough.
yeah. Oh, that's plenty
So,
cold
oh,
enough.
yeah.
That is plenty cold enough. Yeah. So, how about access to your property? Like, do you still, even in those winter months, have acceptable access in there?
we do. There's a really good road. We belong to the road association, so we all pitch in. It's a community effort where we all pitch in and pay for gravel for the road, fix the road. We tend to buy the gravel because we're not there during the week to help fix the road like most of the people are that actually live there full time. We do what we can to help out.
Sure.
That's
And,
awesome.
and that's part of your community, right?
Right, right.
These are people that you know, that you trust, and that you work with
Mhm.
together. Community is just such a beautiful thing. So, and everybody
Yep.
has their way to contribute. So,
And there's very few people down this road. Very few. There used to be a lot more. There's not now. It's just a lot of logging companies have bought up the properties there, and they've just logged them, unfortunately. So a lot of the families that were living down there have moved away. Plus, it's people don't realize it's not like you can just, I kind of laugh when I hear people say, "Oh no, we're just going to go out, we're going to buy a place in the middle of nowhere, and it's all going to be so easy and so great." I'm here to tell you that it's not. It's not. It's a lot of work. It's really expensive, but I'm telling you, it's worth it.
That is
I
so.
mean, it is so worth it. If there was a blackout today that took down all the power and internet and everything, we would be fine. We're used to that.
yeah.
It wouldn't affect us in the slightest way.
So let's move on to sanitation. So you have some tips to share with us about your outhouse. Even your outhouse is beautiful,
Oh,
right?
thank you.
Not only is it functional, but it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it even has a stained glass window in it. I thought that
Yes.
was so pretty.
Well, I put that in because the kids were kind of afraid in the little dark cave that it was. So I thought, well, how can I brighten it up and make it, more fun? So I kind of just did a little rearranging, decorating, and put in the stained glass window. And
Yeah, and after years of experimenting with all kinds of different things like ash and lime and all that to make it so that your outhouse would smell better, you came up with a solution that has helped significantly. Tell us about that.
so I think that all started when we would start leaving. We had always had a lot of people out. We always have just, it's been a popular place for friends and family. And an outhouse doesn't hold out so well on its own that way. I just want to say that we dug it. It's probably almost 7 feet deep, which I would suggest that if you're going to build an outhouse and you're going to put a hole in the ground, do it deep. Otherwise, you're going to be moving it. We have never had to move this in all these years, and it's never even gotten anywhere near filling up. So we tried putting sawdust for the smell, the lye, like you said, and ash, and we tried everything. But we started learning that if you put a hose down it, let it run down there, and then we would put in the septic treatment. And I started noticing, when we put the hose down there, it doesn't smell. Like when we fill it up with the water before we would leave, it didn't smell anymore. So I told my husband, one day I was like, "Hey, how about, instead of having the hose and trying to wash your hands with the hose and all of that, how about we just stick a sink over on the side. It would be more convenient for in every way, And I said, I think what I want to do is I want to run the drain into the outhouse because I just have this idea that I think that's going to really work well. And well, it did. And it's amazing. I mean, I'm just shocked at how the smell has been cut back to almost nothing.
And it's fun to see nature do its job. And
It
that's what's
really
happening
is.
here. Nature's just taking care of
Mhm.
things. And
Yeah, and I've never heard of that before. I mean, I've searched and I've watched so many things on outhouses and so many things on like composting toilets and all of this stuff. And nothing has ever worked as well as just running the water down there. So every time you go out, you wash your hands, all that water goes right inside of there. It also helps compost everything. And it's a great idea. It's been the best idea.
Well, super. Thank you for sharing that idea
You're
for us.
welcome.
Yeah, that is awesome. Now let's talk about some of your self-sufficiency skills that you have developed. Tell us about that.
Okay, for probably about 20 to 25 years now, I've been learning how to do just about everything myself. I've always had this attitude where if somebody else can do it, I can do it too. There's no reason why I can't do it. And so we taught ourselves to build, construct everything. We taught ourselves plumbing, electrical, just about anything that you can think of. We've taught ourselves to do it. And then I started branching out with things like making my own soaps, making my own lotions, deodorants, tooth powder, all kinds of different things. I mean, I'll make everything, lip balm and you name it. And I like to I think my favorite thing that I do is processing wool. I just love it.
Tell
so,
us
where
about
do
that.
you get the wool?
So I have a lot of farmers that just give it away because they can't really sell it. There's not very many people that really do anything with wool anymore. It's kind of unfortunately being kind of lost through the years. But I get it from the farmers. I wash it, clean it all up, and then I dry it in here in front of our fireplace on like a clothes dryer, wooden clothes dryer. I get it in different colors and stuff, and I mix different fibers with the different colors. So I'll go out and get alpaca, I'll get Angora rabbit, cashmere. I just get just about everything. And then I mix them all in with the wools. And then some of them I dye. And that's my favorite thing is dyeing wool. First, I take it to a fiber mill and they'll make it into roving for me because doing your own roving, I can do it. I have the materials to do it. It takes forever. I mean, forever. And I'm one of those, hey, I want to hurry up and get this done.
Right. Yeah.
So when you talk
So,
about turning it into roving, that's turning it into yarn, right?
no, the roving is just like, it's just wool and it's in like little tubes. And then it just makes it easy so that when you're pulling it and, you're spinning it and you're pulling it, it's just it aligns all of the fibers nice and straight for you. Yeah. Then I spin it into yarn and then I knit. Like my grandchildren are decked out in everything I can possibly knit. I make them their socks and their Christmas stockings and their hats and their bibs. And I don't care what it is, it's made out of wool.
It's so fun to hear about these lost arts being brought back, right?
Oh, yeah. And it's like, I always say that, like, spinning wool is almost like yoga. It's like you're moving your whole body and it's like a meditative state that you get in. You're just going along doing your thing and it's just relaxing and it's great. I love it so much.
That is so cool. And I love one of the pictures you sent, you had this spread of all this food that you had made very unique, beautiful, different foods to serve to your kids.
I just love to give tea parties out there. My friends cannot wait. They're always going, when are you going to have another tea party? Can we have another tea party? I've got them coming from the East Coast. I've got them coming from up and down the whole United States.
So you need to invite some of us from Utah to share.
Yes, I do.
Wait, so talk to us about homesteading with your animals. What kind of animals do you have?
I started out with quail, which my husband is not a real animal type guy. He's just a city boy and he's having to adjust. But when he met me, I was a farm girl and I did everything on the farm. There was nothing I did not do on the farm. It was a lot of work. And you can take the girl from the farm, but you can't take the farm from the girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just saying.
You
So,
can't lose that. It's something that's
no,
born into you and bred into you, and
absolutely.
it's a piece of you that doesn't go away.
See, it doesn't go away.
Absolutely.
You just let me have goats.
You just have to conform, you know? So I started out with quail, and then he wasn't real happy about that, but he didn't get too grumpy. And then I snuck in a few tiny little game hens, which he didn't notice because he doesn't really pay attention to stuff. Finally, when I said, "Hey, can you hold some boards for me? I need to build a cage." And he was like, "Why do you need a cage?" And I said, "Oh, to put my chickens and my quail in." And he said, "Wait, you have chickens?" Yes, I do. So we built the cage, and the chickens they're just tiny little game hens, super tiny. And oh my goodness, I love them. They're wonderful. So one of them I take with me when I go out on weekends, and she hangs out and helps me do everything, all my projects. And then I got rabbits because I just really want to get back to being self-sufficient. And, I grew up that way, and I think rabbits are probably one of the most important things you can have. And probably if I had to choose between chickens and rabbits, I would go with rabbits. Only if I had to choose, because their fertilizer is the best.
It is amazing,
Yeah,
right?
it really
It's
is.
the best. It's absolutely the best. I mean, I turned hard, awful clay into I can grow anything.
That's a good transition. I noticed your garden and the big fence around it to keep,
Yep,
I guess, deer out probably. Um,
everything.
yeah, that was just a really cool little garden spot.
Oh,
And
thank you.
and of course, I think gardening is a huge part of anybody's homestead because that's
Absolutely.
how we can produce so much food.
Yep. And I think that even if you can only have a little garden, having some type of garden and teaching yourself how to maintain soil and how to cultivate everything is it's one of the most important things. I mean, it took me years to learn about soil. I just kept thinking, like most people, oh, I can just pop something in the ground and it's going to grow. I mean, we could do that when we lived on the coast, but we can't do that there. The soil's just so poor.
But you've created good soil using the
Yes.
organics, the rabbit manure, and
It just takes
Everything. I
years.
put everything in there.
and
Yeah.
that's part of what people need to understand is,
Mhm.
we get people say, well, if things really go to pieces, then I'll do it. But you have to work on that soil for years to get it
Years.
to a place where it's
Yep.
actually productive and works well.
It's true, and it's the same with when people say, "Oh, I don't need to, stock up food or whatever for hard times. I'm going to go out and I'm going to shoot a deer." Do you know we can go 2 years without seeing one deer out there? I mean, yeah, it's not like people think. And if you see it, it might not be a buck that you can shoot, or it might not be hunting season, or it might not be a legal size, or I mean, there's so many factors. I mean, I guess if you were really hungry for food, it wouldn't really matter with some of that, but but it's not like people think. You're not going to see them when you need them. They're just not going to be found.
So along this line, if something happened and you had to leave the city and just stay on your homestead, could you guys survive there? What do you think?
Absolutely. Yep. I'm so confident that we could survive there. And I'm not saying it would be easy, but with all of the knowledge and foraging and just using what's available around me, we have a lot of acorns, and I taught my children how to, process acorns. I go along and explain, what the plants are, and I've done a lot of transplanting. My poor husband, all the way, all the way there. Just about every week, I'm like, "Oh wait, stop! I have to get that plant,"
I
because
relate
on
to
the side
this.
of the road,
I,
I'll see something like chicory or just so many different random plants, and I'll just go, "Oh wait, I just saw a plant. I need that plant. Just stop for a second." And he just sort of rolls his eyes and goes, "Okay." And so I've transplanted a lot of medicinal plants and just edible plants, or anything that conditions the soil, like comfrey, or any of those. And I just walk around and kind of take little bits of things, and I'm constantly eating them just so my body is used to it.
okay, you've got the water from your water system. Do you have a cold shower? Is that what you take?
No, we actually have a propane tank. It's just we have a lot of problems with companies wanting to go all the way out there to fill it. A lot of the times they'll drop us and say, we don't want to go out there anymore. It's just too much hassle. So we've learned that we can just live without it. We have a bathtub, a clawfoot bathtub. If we have to take a bath in it and heat up the water, on the wood cook stove, which is my next best thing, we've learned that you can just fill up the pails and stick them on there and take a hot bath if that's the only way you can do it. Otherwise, we do have propane and we have an instant hot water heater on demand, they're called. So we have that. We have a shower that's actually outside. We love the outside shower. It's like the best. And I know that's weird to some people, but you have to be out in the middle of nowhere and experience it yourself.
So no luxury is withheld here. Hot baths, showers in
Absolutely.
nature. What a way to go.
Oh, maybe.
It is.
Do you have a stockpile of chocolate?
I do.
Yeah.
No luxury is withheld. There we go.
I'm pretty sure that I have remembered everything in my stockpile. I
That is
honestly don't think there's anything I haven't remembered. One thing that's been a little bit of a trial for us is that we are quite a ways out. So we've learned that if you need to go get something from town, that's going to be a minimum of a 3-hour trip. So, and it can be as much as a whole day, depending on what you're looking for and how far you have to go for it. So what we've learned is to make sure that we get at least 3 of everything that we need to go get. Have backups for your backups, always.
Another thing that really impressed me is that you use a lot of recycled materials. You kind of scavenge, and that's kind of near and dear to my heart because I do the same thing. I
He
think
does.
it makes mama crazy a little bit, but 'cause, if we're done with something, I take it apart. I keep the wood and I keep the screws, and
He does.
it
Absolutely.
was easier to just throw it in the trash, but I can't do that. That's kind of what is built into me is, hey, take it apart. I might need this lumber or these screws at some point, and so I scavenge a lot.
And there's a fine line right there between collecting up a bunch of things and hoarding, is what my
Yes,
husband says.
yes. We struggle with that line a little bit sometimes, and sometimes her
Yes.
definition is different than mine. But yes,
Yes.
we don't want a junkyard.
No, and that's the hard part is trying to keep everything so organized and gosh, where is everything? Because that's I think one of the biggest problems we have is we'll buy things and then we get out there and we can't find them. And even though we think we're organized, we're just not,
We have that too. We put it somewhere where we know where to get it, and we
Yes.
don't know where to get it. So
I know it's just frustrating.
But it is beautiful to see everything that you've created using things like felled trees and what you have available. And I don't know where you got the stained glass window for that outhouse, but I was thinking, I wonder where she found that.
I've always been a collector. I used to collect a lot of antiques. I loved going to yard sales, and that's how we furnished our whole house. I mean, I didn't work, and my husband was just starting out here, and I had 3 kids, and I didn't, have the money to go do what I wanted to do. So I just started figuring out ways that I could make money. So I would do like craft shows and things. I'm very crafty. So I would do, all kinds of craft shows. And I always did very, very well at the craft shows. So that would give us Christmas money. That would give us money to do projects if I wanted to do a project. And if I wanted to go yard sailing, I would do it that way. It was a great thing for us because all that stuff that's in our cabin, that was all yard sales, junk stores. I mean, it was just cheap stuff that I just gave a new face to.
I love that,
Thank
right?
you.
Because sometimes finances can be so limiting.
Absolutely.
I was just going through some of our old love letters actually last night, and I came across our first budget that we had created
Mhm.
before we ever got married. And when
Oh,
we
that
got
would be fun.
we had 7 teenagers together.
Oh my goodness.
And I looked at the amount and our budget, and I'm like,
How did you
do
do
we
it?
ever survive? How did I feed 11 children on
Yep.
$500 a month?
Isn't that crazy?
Right?
And
But
you did it.
we
And you
did.
probably did it because you got a lot of things bulk. I mean, that's the smart
Mhm.
way to do it. And that's the way I raised my kids, and they raised their kids that way.
Yeah.
It's pretty special and it's pretty smart when you can figure all that out and you just have to rotate. That's the main thing, you know.
And I think sometimes when we talk about skills, we talk about these hard skills, like being able to fix a car or plumbing. We don't talk about how important it is to be able to feed a family on just a small amount of money, right? And how to find things that make them useful and all that. Those are important skills too. So, and it's hard to teach that.
And I taught my kids how to make everything from scratch. You probably did
Yeah.
too. But like, so we would have an assembly line where we would have one kid making the, like for tortillas, for instance, one kid would be making the balls of the tortillas, the other would be squishing it down, the other would be handing it to me, and I'd be flipping it over. But we did everything that way. We made jams, jellies, we can everything. I mean, everything that most people don't can, we can, because we have to be able to have stuff out there that we can't just run in town to get. So I can cream, butter, cream cheese, everything. I mean, bacon, ham, you name it. Things that you've never heard of people canning. We pressure can everything.
That is
What a
awesome.
blessed life. And passing those skills on is the other critical part of all this. It's one thing to do it yourself, and then probably the more critical thing is to passing that along to our kids and our grandkids, and helping them know, because they live in a different world than we lived in when I was coming up. So some of these skills, they don't even know where food comes from or where water comes from, or and passing these things along, I think, is so critical.
I think that's one of the beautiful things about our little homestead is that
Mhm.
some of our kids, they live in the city and they can't afford to have a place with a lot of land like what we have,
Right.
an acre and a half. But those grandkids come out and they know they can pick these berries from grandma's, and they can just go
Mhm.
grazing on some of the stuff. And it's a whole different lifestyle. So we're able to share that with them, even though their personal life, they can't do that. And so it's beautiful. We all need to work together, right? And take care of each other.
Absolutely. And the one daughter that I have, that my middle daughter, I never ever imagined her canning or raising chickens or any of that. And she's doing, I mean, she wouldn't touch raw meat before for anything. And she didn't care for the canning and stuff, and she just never wanted to be, a farmer or have any of these skills when she was younger. And it was my oldest daughter that always wanted that, which they, both of them together, they only live a neighborhood apart. Unfortunately, they're on the East Coast, so I don't get to see them so much. But they help each other out, and they do all the prepping, and I've taught them everything. They do everything together. So they pressure they dehydrate, and they repackage foods and get bulk stuff, and put them in the Mylars and do all the everything that we've always done. It's a wonderful thing. It makes you feel really good.
Christy, it has been so fabulous chatting with you. So, I'd like to know before we end, I'd love to know about some of your upcoming projects and what advice you might have for our audience. Your last words.
We have a lot of projects coming up. We just finished our bar area, and the bar area is where we all sit and eat. In the night, we love to, sit down around the fire and stare up at the stars. Our favorite thing. We just sit and chat. So we finished the roof on that. And then we've been working on a wood shed, and I have a food storage area that you guys would love. So that's a really big project, and I can't wait to get that finished. So at some point I'll have to send you pictures of that. We've got road clearing going on, and we have gravel that has to be poured on that, and we have all kinds of things going on. Summertime is just so overwhelming for us, but it's a such a neat thing. We have just like a bunch of things. We've got our upstairs right now. We're trying to finally get that. I wanted bunk beds put in for the grandkids, and so we're trying to get that worked on. So that's starting, and there's just we try and cram a lot in all at once. And what I would like to say is, if you ever have a chance, like advice I'd like to give to your viewers would be, if you ever have a chance to get an off-grid land, get it. I would suggest not moving out there right away. And a few things that we've learned that were really important that I wish we would have learned before we were out there would be maybe getting the lay of the land, seeing where does your water drain, how does your land fare during the wet season, how does it fare during the dry season. Pay attention to your drainage on the property, because we've had a little bit of a problem where we had to get our cabin raised up and redo the foundation because the drainage around the property was all draining to the cabin. So that's been a really big project. So just pay attention to the lay of the land. Another thing is, I know you had a guest on there a while back and they were saying, don't plan things out because it never works out. But I disagree. That's one thing I disagree about. I'm the grid paper artist. I'll sit down and I'll sketch out my ideas onto the paper because my husband's always saying, now what are you going to do? So I don't even bother to tell him anymore. I just draw it out and I say, this is what I want to do.
I think the planning is critical. And
Oh,
there is
yes.
some truth to the fact that it often doesn't go exactly the way, but you have to have a plan. You have to have a framework to start with.
Right.
And then it actually gets better because you go,
Yeah.
okay, I was thinking this, but this is even better. And so this step-by-step process is just, to me, that's so much fun.
It is. And I think for the most part, they've all of our projects have gone just the way we've actually planned them out. We take a lot of time to plan them out. So they actually go either okay, I mean, just the way we wanted it, or 100 times better. And I'm one of those people where I'm not going to design something unless it's a wow factor.
Well,
I
your
love it.
place is a wow factor.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, thank you.
all just so beautiful.
Oh,
It
thank
doesn't-
you.
It doesn't look like a normal bug out location. Should we
No,
say? It's just a beautiful, beautiful place.
it is. And, it's been a lot of work, but it gets better every year. It's such an amazing transformation, every little part of it. I mean, it went from this little piece of land with a falling down shack on it to building our own and fixing up the falling down shack. And it's just, we love driving down the driveway. It's like, you just instantly smile.
I know I've already said this, but the whole step-by-step process of watching this all come together is just so fulfilling.
It really is. I mean, if you have before and after pictures of every little thing, because I couldn't give you a million pictures, but I would love to, but it's a lot of pictures. But there's been so many projects, and it's, in 23 years or something like that. It's just been a really, really long process. But yeah, I wouldn't change it. I love it. We both do. My husband's never been an outdoors man, and oh my goodness, he loves it there. Just loves it.
Thank you so much, Christy. Like,
Oh,
thank you
you're
so much
welcome.
for taking the time and for sharing your beautiful place. I am so inspired by all of those photographs, and I know that our viewers, you've got to be looking at this just thinking, I am so jealous. Like, I would so love to have
Oh,
that.
thank you.
So, for our question of the day, for our viewers, tell us, what projects have you been inspired to create to help you be more self-reliant and to have joy in life? Right? Because that's part of what this did, is it just brings joy just because you're there. So comment below. And thanks for being part of the solution.